Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. What if everything you thought you knew about Yu Menglong's tragic death was wrong? Today, a grieving mother has stepped forward, armed with evidence so powerful it doesn't just change the story. It flips the entire case upside down. Stay with us because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless. Welcome back to Update X24H, where we bring you the truth behind the headlines. This story is not just about the shocking death of a beloved actor. It's about a mother's courage, a fight for justice, and a revelation that could reshape the entire entertainment industry. In the midst of the chaos and speculation surrounding Yu Menglong's death, one figure had remained almost invisible: his mother. For weeks, she was seen only in fleeting moments, her head lowered, her steps hurried, as if she carried not just the weight of grief but the burden of unspeakable truth. And then, without warning, she chose to step forward. Dressed in black, her face pale yet resolute, she entered the press hall with a silence so heavy that it silenced everyone else. In her hands was not just a folder of papers, but the promise of a voice that had been silenced too soon. What made this moment so striking was not simply the documents she carried, but the presence she embodied. This was not the image of a broken woman. It was the image of a mother whose grief had been transformed into determination. Her first words cut through the tension like a blade. They tried to bury the truth. "I will not let them." In that instant, she reclaimed control of her son's story. No longer was Yu Menglong just a headline or a tragic figure whispered about online. Through her, he became a son whose life demanded justice, whose suffering cried out to be acknowledged. Every detail of her appearance carried meaning. The black attire signified mourning, yet also resolve. Her trembling voice revealed pain, yet beneath it lay an unyielding strength. She did not read from a prepared script, nor did she appeal to sympathy alone. Instead, she spoke with the clarity of someone who had spent sleepless nights piecing together fragments of evidence, someone who understood that truth was the only weapon powerful enough to fight lies. In that room, she shifted the focus entirely. The investigation, once seen as a matter for officials and experts, became something deeply human. Her courage reminded the world that behind every headline is a family, behind every statistic is love, and behind every silence is a choice: to hide or to speak. She chose to speak, and in doing so, she redefined the case. What had begun as a story of tragedy became a story of resistance. Her presence, fragile yet fierce, became the turning point that forced everyone, journalists, fans, and authorities alike, to look again at what they thought they knew. It was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, truth can find its voice through those who refuse to remain silent. When the mother of Yu Menglong opened her folder and began to reveal what lay inside, the atmosphere in the room shifted. It was no longer speculation or theory. It was the unfiltered weight of truth placed in front of the world. She began with photographs, ordinary in size yet extraordinary in consequence. They showed her son's body marked by bruises, captured long before the night of his death. These were not isolated accidents from film sets or the careless stumbles of daily life. The images carried a pattern, the repetition of force, the unmistakable evidence of someone being hurt again and again. Each picture was more than a wound. It was a testimony etched into his skin, silent yet undeniable. Then she played a recording. At first the room was still, expectant, but as the sound of Yu's voice filled the hall, a heavy sorrow descended. His words trembled with fear, confessions spoken not to the world but to a trusted confidant. "They won't let me go. I tried to walk away, but they threatened to end everything I worked for. If something happens to me, remember it was not an accident." His voice cracked, and in that moment the audience no longer heard a celebrity speaking. They heard a son, a friend, a man pleading not to be forgotten. It was chilling because it transformed suspicion into certainty. What made this evidence so powerful was that it spoke beyond interpretation. Photographs could not be dismissed as rumors. A voice recording could not be twisted into speculation. Together, they dismantled the fragile narrative that had been built around his death. They challenged the idea that this was the end of a young star who had simply lost his way. Instead, they painted the image of someone cornered, threatened, and silenced. The mother's voice shook as she presented these pieces, but her intention was firm. She wanted the world to feel her son's fear, to see his suffering, to understand that behind the glamour of fame lay a reality of torment. In every gasp that echoed across the room, in every tear that welled in the eyes of strangers, his truth became alive again. This evidence did not simply reveal facts. It restored humanity to Yu Menglong, showing that he had fought to be heard even when his voice was nearly taken from him. It was more than proof, it was his final testimony, and through his mother's courage it reached the world at last. After the photographs and the recording had left the room in a state of disbelief, Yu Menglong's mother carefully turned to another layer of truth, one that did not exist in bruises or trembling words, but in the hidden realm of technology. She revealed how her son's digital world, once full of conversations, private messages, and ordinary traces of daily life, had been tampered with in ways that could not be ignored. Logs showed unfamiliar devices accessing his accounts at odd hours. Conversations that once existed had vanished, as though someone had carefully erased the connections he had tried to preserve. Timelines were altered, fragments of exchanges rearranged, leaving behind a story that no longer matched reality. It was not merely the grief of a mother making claims. Beside her stood a digital forensics expert who explained with precision how this was not the work of chance or common cyber intrusion. These patterns bore the marks of coordination, of intention, of resources that ordinary individuals would never possess. The deletions were not random. They followed a method designed to conceal, to manipulate, and to bury. If the bruises on Yu's body spoke of physical torment, this evidence spoke of another kind of violence, the erasure of his voice after he was gone. The audience listened as she described nights spent piecing together fragments from cloud backups, scraps of conversations salvaged from old devices, and alerts that proved her son's accounts had been compromised even in the hours following his death. The weight of her words lingered not only because they accused unseen hands but because they revealed something far darker, that the attempt to silence Yu Menglong did not end with his final breath. It continued, creeping into his digital existence, attempting to rewrite his story so that no trace of truth remained. What resonated most deeply was the symbolism of it all. To delete someone's words, to erase their private messages, is to strip away the most intimate proof of who they were. It was as though those responsible had tried to smother his memory, to replace it with a hollow version of events that painted him as weak, unstable, or alone. But through her persistence, his mother showed the world that these digital scars were just as real as the bruises on his body. They proved that a hand, hidden yet deliberate, had worked to rewrite the truth. And in bringing this evidence forward, she gave back her son's voice, refusing to allow even the shadows of silence to prevail. And then the moment that turned shock into outrage. From her folder she pulled out a flash drive. On the big screen behind her, surveillance footage played. Figures entering and leaving Yu's apartment on the night of his death. Angry voices. A heavy thud. And finally, the haunting sound of a body hitting the floor. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't loneliness. He was surrounded. He was forced. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Fans filled the streets demanding justice. Hashtags calling for truth flooded social media across China, Korea, Japan, Southeast Asia, and beyond. Reporters called it not just a crime but a conspiracy, and the public began asking, if this was hidden, what else has been buried? Beyond the horror, one thing shone through: the strength of a mother's love. She stood against fear, against silence, and against powerful forces trying to rewrite her son's story. Her courage transformed grief into action, and despair into hope. This case is no longer just about a tragic loss. It has become a rallying cry for truth, transparency, and justice. Yu Menglong's death has shaken the entertainment world to its core. But now, with this evidence, the path to justice feels closer than ever. As his mother declared, "My son's blood cries for justice. Do not let them silence him again." What do you think of this shocking turn of events? Do you believe the truth will finally come to light? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your voice. Thank you for watching Update X24H. If this story moved you, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an update on the stories that matter. Stay strong, stay inspired, and stay with us. The truth is out there, and together we will uncover it.